All right, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College. I've been going over the MySQL by Examples for Beginners PDF, which you see on your screen. And I have gone through part 2, where we learn to create and delete databases, use the use statement to set our default database, create and delete tables, insert data into tables, query databases with a select statement, produce summary reports where we looked at the aggregate functions of count, sum, average, min, max, etc. Learn how to modify data with the update statement, how to delete data with a delete statement. We looked a little bit, although I had some problems with loading and exporting data. We ran a simple SQL script. We talked about the different relationships that you can have when you start to have more than one table, including the many-to-many relationship, the one-to-one relationship, and the one-to-many relationship. We talked primary keys, foreign keys, and indexes, looked a little bit at subqueries, working with date and time, views, transactions, and I basically skipped user variables. In just a minute, I'm going to go over more on the join, and there are some exercises at the end here where they ask you to do things, but they give you the answers right away, so I'm not going to go through those. So I'm going to finish this up right now with part 6, more on join. And we're going to talk about the examples that they have here, which, good, bad, or indifferent, are not the strongest of examples. But we're going to take a quick look at them anyway. So let me start up XAMPP. And once we're into XAMPP, can't connect. Well, let's see, did I not start this up? No, I did not. So I guess that's the error you get when you don't start things up. Let's try that again. MySQL -u roots. And there we are. Let's use our Southwind. So we're making that database our active one. And let's take a look then at what's here. In an inner join of two tables, each row of the first table is joined with every row of the second table. So you get a Cartesian product join. So let's create table T1. Now, if you notice here, the word DESC is a reserved word. So that word must be put in backticks if you want to be able to use it inside of a table. So if I now describe T1, you'll notice I've got DESC in there, and that's legal. That said, not that there's anything necessarily wrong with doing that, but I wouldn't recommend doing it anyway. I would have just called it, my description or whatever, just something else. But whatever the author wants to do here. All right, so now we have tables T1 and T2 in here along with our other tables. Now we'll put some data into these tables. So right now, if I select star from T1, it should say the empty set. And if I do it again from T2, it should say the empty set. And it does. Now we've added some data into table T1. And we'll add similar data, not the same, but similar data into table T2. So we can now select star from T1, and there's our data. And we can select star from T2, and that's our data. You notice there is some stuff in common here. In other words, ID2 and ID3 exist in both tables. But the actual stuff that's in here all says in T1, and this all says in T2. All right. So if we select everything there is, everything, since there's 3 rows in here and 3 rows in here, we should get 9 records back, which is every combination. So if I select star from T1, T2, I get 9 records back. That is what's called a Cartesian product join, and that's when you get every single combination there is. Now that's typically not going to be what you want, okay? Cartesian product, in case you care, was named after, hopefully I'm not butchering his name too much, Descartes was a mathematician, I think a French mathematician, many, many years ago. All right. So, if we want to impose some constraints on here, we can do something like this. Now notice all we have is the stuff that's in common, and that is when the IDs are the same. So we've got an ID of 2, even though the description is different, and an ID of 3, even though the description is different. All right. Now the author says here, the following things that we see here are equivalent. The first, we just did the inner join. In fact, let's do all of them just to prove it. So there's the first one. There's the second one, and you can see we have exactly the same data. And finally, there is the third one. Good, bad, or indifferent, one of the things that many people like and other people dislike about SQL is oftentimes you're given rather several ways of doing the same thing, which bothers some people. And if that's the case, then find the one you're more comfortable with and just use that one. Here's another way we can do this. And when we get done, then let's take a look at that one. Again, same data, but now select star from T1 inner join T2 using IDs, which says, again, combine them, but only where the IDs are the same. So with all these, we're getting the same output. Again, that's at least 4 ways of doing the same thing. Five ways of doing the same thing. Six ways of doing the same thing. Now, that said, what my suggestion is, and especially people who are learning this stuff, my class has heard this several times. When you are first learning this, if you've got 6 ways of doing something, take a look at all of them, try all of them, come up with 1, maybe 2, but probably 1 you're comfortable with, and use that one. When you're starting to learn this stuff, you should be concentrating on understanding. And if that means just using 1 way of doing something, then that's the way you should use if that's the most understandable to you. That said, be cognizant, please, of the fact that if you are to go into this field and actually work with this stuff, you're going to probably see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or all 6 different ways of doing it. All right? So the next thing, the last part of this particular lecture is on outer joins. Now, the important things with outer joins is outer joins include nulls. So let's take a look at the query that we see here. And you notice now what gets added in here are the null values. Okay? So inner joins, where you use on or you use using, produces rows found in both tables. On the other hand, an outer join, which we'll look at in 1 second, produces rows that are in one table that are not in the other table. There's 2 kinds of outer joins. There's a left outer join and a right outer join. The left outer join produces rows that are in the left table, whether or not they are in the right table. The right outer join produces rows that are in the right table, whether or not they're in the left table. So as it says there, in a left join, when a row on the left does not match a row on the right, it is still selected, but it puts what they call a fake record in there, all right, that has nulls in them. So notice this is another way that we can create the same query. So in other words, what you see on the screen right there, this example and this example give you the same data. Notice they're both left joined, which says show me everything that's in the left table, all right, regardless of whether or not it's in the right table. So what was in the left table is the first one. So select star from T1. And you notice that's where we've got this. But there is nothing that matches in the right table, so we get null. A little hard to understand, maybe to wrap your head around. When you work with right joins, the major table, so to speak, is the last one rather than the first one, like you get with a left table. All right? So if we select star from T2, notice we've got a 2, 3, and a 4. So now we get this. There's nothing, there is no ID of 4 in the left table, so we get null. So since there's no ID, there's no description. All right, so here we had no match in the right table. Here we had no match in the left table. So again, virtually always when you're working with these, what you're saying is, I want you to show me everything that exists in one of the tables, regardless of whether or not there's a match in the other table. All right? So notice they've even taken this a little further here. They're saying, do this and show me, all right, show me where there is no ID in the T2 table. So show me where it's null. And they're saying there is no number 1 in T2. If I select star from T2, notice there is no ID of 1, and that's what they're showing you. This does not exist in the other table. Now it says, note the following are equivalent. I can put those up there, but they're all going to result in the same thing. You can use left join, left outer join with an on, left join with a using, or left join with an equals. Again, look at those, kind of wrap your head around them, so to speak, and come up with and use the one that seems the most comfortable to you. All right? They say here, the following are equivalent. The where clause cannot be used on an outer join. Let's try it and double check and make sure that we get the error that's shown here. And you do. Now, I'm done with this handout, okay? And so I can put this one to rest. What I am going to do next is I'm going to, I don't know what that is, but I'm going to come through here and I'm going to, from here, I don't want the shell anymore. I've gotten out of there. I don't have that up. But under MySQL, I'm going to choose admin. And under admin, this brings up PHP MyAdmin. This is what I'm going to start talking about next. Now, I have found a simple little article on this, which I thought I had up, but I don't. So that is, I think that's right here. Nope. It is right here. Introduction to MySQL and PHP MyAdmin. So I'm going to go over that very, very quickly in the next lecture.